Greetings. It's been a while since doing a Thrifts episode. Almost 2 years as I record this. Didn't mean for that to happen, but it's been a heck of a couple years. A heck of a past year. Just personally speaking, I had to rebuild a house and rebuild a life and other assorted related things that kind of put thrifting on the back burner, to say the least. But I've still been thrifting here and there, at least the stores that survived and stayed open, which I've had a lot of things shuffling around, but there's still some Goodwills, so I'm going to be going to a few of those, but format for how this is presented has changed just a teeny little bit, because the footage is just, from 2 years, right? It's all scattered and ridiculous, and so I'm not going to show each individual store as I'm going into it like I normally would, but here's one of them, so let's just go here, and other assorted places. Let's go thrifting. Starting off in some movies, see what kind of schlock I can find, and well, I did run across this 300 on HD DVD, which I oddly enough own. It's the only HD DVD I own, but just seeing one of these format movies at all in a thrift store is darned unusual. Arguably even more unusual for entirely different reasons. This one immediately stood out as soon as I saw the Spine Shoji Tabuchi Show Volume 4. I don't know how many of these there are, but I really only know it because of the Best of the Worst episode from over a decade ago now. Wheel of the Worst number 4 in particular. It is a classic of a sort. As is this, and it just stood out because it is software in a big box, but yeah, it's a copy of Music Match Jukebox Deluxe version 7. I did not use anything other than the first couple or so versions because they came with like a random MP3 player, but yeah, in a big box. And my goodness, the selection of VHS tapes at this time happened to be pretty substantial. More so than I normally see anymore. Honestly, they've been on the increase in recent years in terms of Goodwill's holding on to VHS tapes and not getting rid of them. And while I did pick up a couple of blanks, which I like to grab just in case there's anything strange recorded on there, these just ended up being random Disney movies, no commercials or anything. Though I was also tempted to grab some copies of the Holy Trilogy, The Lord of the Rings, 4:3 aspect ratio pan and scan VHS. Haven't seen those editions in forever. And over in the glass case is something I've been seeing a little bit more of in recent years at Goodwill, and some of these particular style of rather crappy keyboards most of the time. Sometimes they're mechanical, sometimes not. They just have those rounded keys and colorful keycaps, and there's more style over substance. People grab them because they see them in a viral video, and then they just get them home, realize that they suck, or you just get over it, or they stop working because they're so cheaply made, or whatever. Anyway, I've been seeing more and more of these, and here's a couple of them. And just above there, I saw a number of PC games, including Tron Evolution. I don't even recall that being a thing, but I guess it was. The last one I remember was Tron 2.0. But anyway, RCT3 Platinum, some Call of Duties, and nothing I don't already have or want. Oh, hey, look at these yellowy 90s things. Yeah, some JBL Pro speakers, as they called them. Marketing. These were just things that were bundled with a bunch of Compaq computers in 1999. Actually found a YouTube video for a Compaq Presario 5700N466, which has the exact same speakers. Back when they were not the color of pea. Over nearby, I saw this tape recorder that just really stood out to me because of the overall design. Of course, the wood grain, but the fact that it says integrated circuit on top, and the way that these piano key buttons look with the rounded faces on them and everything, that really stood out. I love me some 70s recorders. And just above the Tasmanian Devil stereo, I don't know how I overlooked that, but yeah, this thing here looked like a little 5¼ inch drive bay thing at first, but then I was like, no, this is a standalone DVD player. Wait, no, this is something else. It's an AD212 by Myron and Davis. And it's meant for vehicles, despite having just standard stuff on the back in terms of connections. One of those things you set up in the mid-2000s to have a DVD player and an LCD screen on the back of your car seats. Not the kind of thing I see often at all while thrifting. Or this, for that matter. This is a Hewlett-Packard JetDirect 500X. Had kind of a mid-90s Toshiba laptop aesthetic going on. I thought it was a docking station at first, but nah, this right here is for connecting 3 different parallel port devices, printers, plotters, whatever else, and getting them on the network and connected up that way via Token Ring. And I got another computery thing sitting over here looking all phallic. This is the Extreme 3D Pro by Logitech, an absolutely okay joystick. I was just happy to see some computery things hanging around, and this right here was very much more my kind of thing. This is a Prime Film 1800i from 2001, if you couldn't tell from the translucent teal, but yeah, this is a 35mm film scanner, USB. Something that I actually did buy and take home and try out, and it doesn't work whatsoever. Not a single bit of it, other than powering on and technically being recognized. But yeah, nothing about the actual scanning. Oh well. Looks kind of cool though. As did all of this. Seriously doing a double take once I saw all of the beige computeriness. So yeah, we got a parallel or serial switch, a couple of CD-ROM drives, some power station surge protectors by Interex, and then this case. Ah, my goodness, with the teal buttons. And on the side here, I saw this, which got my attention. It mentions the NC Wise Owl remote access and how to get in there and sort of what it does. And yeah, basically it is a North Carolina Department of Public Instruction program, and it provides resources for students and teachers, administrators, whoever, people that need access to different databases for reference materials, and you just get it for free through your school or library or whatever. So I don't know if this was specifically for that or if it was just something that people were using that owned this computer. Either way, the thing is completely gutted. There was nothing inside other than the power supply. Didn't grab it, although I was really tempted because of those teal buttons, honestly. And just in case I forgot that I was shopping in Asheville, Reiki in session, yeah, as a very Asheville sign. Dance like no one is watching. And if you are watching, hopefully it's on VHS, because look at these VHS tape holders, or just one holder, but holds 10 tapes, and I was tempted to grab it just because of the wood grain. I honestly should have. I don't know what I was thinking. I could absolutely make use of one of these. I also kind of wish I got these $50 for a pair of Shure VocalMaster VA300S column loudspeakers from 1979. Something that at the time I couldn't justify in terms of taking up space, but now I actually have somewhere that I could have put these and it would have been kind of perfect. But anyway, hopefully whoever got them makes good use of them because they look cool. As did this. Look at that Magnavox CDB496, a 6 CD changer from 1989. I just love the aesthetic, and just seeing an older disc changer is cool. And yeah, this another Magnavox thing. Nothing terribly special, but you know, a decent looking dual cassette deck with a Dolby B noise reduction and chrome tape support, auto reverse. Yeah, it's almost interesting. Unlike this TIAC, which is fully interesting. This is the A4010S. From the late 1960s, around 1967, a reel-to-reel of any kind at Goodwill is pretty unusual these days, and a late 60s TIAC is even more so. Unfortunately, it was in some pretty rough shape, missing some pieces here and there. It was just kind of beat up, and you know, I'm sure it would need a good amount of work. But you know, if it was for a good price, it would be worth doing. $150 in this condition? Nah, you can get them online for less than that in better shape. Well, I like me a good pair of wood grain clad realistic speakers. And these Radio Shack things, I don't know, there's something about the simplicity of the design that is always appealing to me. I own a number of realistic sets like this, and I didn't need any more, but dang it, I like looking at them. Also, this 2000s Iowa stereo system stood out to me because I was just at that time covering my own Sharp stereo, and one of those things, I just liked these back in the day, and I kind of still do, with the nice displays on front, the overall silvery Y2K aesthetic. The kind of thing I'd be much more inclined to actually buy is this type of Pioneer hi-fi stack from like 1990 or so. You get dual cassette, a graphic equalizer, that was really intrigued by that, the amplifier, radio receiver, tuner, 6-disc CD changer. All of this together was $75, and I was really tempted to do it, but I just took some B-roll because I needed it for that Sharp video. And yeah, that was it. I left it there for somebody else to enjoy. You know, I recorded this bit right around the time Dick Cheney died. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with anything. Look at these things that you shoot with birdshot. These are some BioBird clay targets. These orange things that stood out on the shelf for being unusual to see at Goodwill. Also, $25. I had to look it up just out of sheer curiosity, and apparently you can get these things for like $15, $13 brand new. So, Goodwill overcharging. I do rather like the way they sound, though. I don't know, I just like clay stuff, I guess. And I like shovelware. Well, here's a Jewel Quest pack that I don't care about. And also Dungeon Lords, game I have never heard of and I was almost intrigued by, with its collector's edition low-cost packaging. You know, actually, they had a good number of PC games here this time, which is unusual these days, like this later entry in the Silent Hunter series that I didn't know existed. I'm only familiar with the 90s ones. A Hoyle card games collection and Hoyle casino games, a Dungeon Siege, an explosive release from Europe, and the PC stuff continued. Look at all of this big box software. We got Windows NT 4.0 Server Edition with Service Pack 4 down here, which I already own, but hey, weird to see at Goodwill, as is Microsoft SQL Server 2000 Standard Edition, also in a big box. And it just kept going. Visual Cafe Pro by Symantec. Allaire Cold Fusion Web Application Server. Yeah, I have a feeling we have lost one of the OGs. Some system administrator, webmaster type of person back in the day may no longer be with us. Or maybe they were just cleaning out their attic. I don't know, but I mean, it just kept on going. Macromedia Cold Fusion 5 Studio. This gigantic box, and there were a lot. We just kept finding all through here, but I kind of stopped looking after running across this distracting book. The Great Pantyhose Crafts Book. I have some very specific memories of seeing these at random relatives' houses and really not knowing what they are, but apparently they're made with pantyhose. Like, I totally remember their little scrunched up nylon faces, some very specific 70s, 80s silliness, right up there with microwave cookbooks. Over in the puzzles and board games, though, the big box stuff continued, and this right here was an awesome find. Bryce 3D. Yeah, the one that I've covered on LGR before, complete in the box. I didn't need another copy, but my friend Billy Core was with me that day, and I convinced him to take it home because $5 is an insane deal. Over near the monitors no one wants is a frame no one wants, but as a former picture framer, I was intrigued because it had these floating purple flowers in a shadow box. I was just curious how they were mounted in there. Yeah, they're just glued to the back piece, and that makes perfect sense. I don't know how else I would do it. I mean, it seems like a pretty okay job. It's just kind of a crappy quality framing, whatever. Keyboards, and we got some over here with this one almost being something that I wanted to look at until I looked at it a little closer and realized it was just an iBuyPower board. Nothing mechanical or good at all, just has red keys. Though there was also this one that I at first thought maybe it had built-in speakers up top. Like, you see the little grills on the left and right, but no, it's just had a normal PS2 connection. This is a Mitsuko KM9801. And this bit of beige on the bottom shelf caught my attention because of the beige, but also the name Phonograph. Well, like phonograph, but fun. Anyway, I guess this company made these little portable record players, and this is the Model 345 from 1972. And I really like the colors on this thing. The red and the white is very appealing. Also had what I'm guessing is maybe a center post replacement. The one that was already on there was meant for stacking records, jukebox style. And then on a totally different section of the cheaper record player spectrum, yeah, there's this piece of junk, which, I mean, it looked like junk, but at the same time, I don't know, man, it's a vibe. I'm not sorry at all. Well, let's keep the record player stuff going. We got some furniture. Love some good record player furniture. This is a console record player tuner thing from Zenith, as so many of them were. This one with 4-speed settings and some mighty delightful looking dials. I'm getting 60s vibes with this. Not entirely sure though, I didn't see a model number or anything, but that would be my guess. As opposed to this other one over here, which is deeply into the 70s. Also a Zenith, also record player and tuner with some satisfying knobs, but then it also has an 8-track player recorder built in, which I rarely see on one of these consoles. And not only that, there was one in here, but it looked odd, and I knew something was up with that. So once I pulled it out of there, we got our answer. This is a compact cassette adapter for 8-track. I don't think I knew this existed, at least not when I filmed this footage a year and a half ago or so. Now, I've since seen some people on YouTube talk about these adapters, but yeah, this was my first time seeing one, and it was so cool, as was the whole console with that 70s Star Wars aesthetic to the controls. Here's something else I was immediately drawn to just for the aesthetic, but then I saw some unusual writing in a company I'd never heard of, plus mentions of Kodak Picture CD and HD CD and VCD and all kinds of stuff. What the heck is this Amoy branded thing? Well, it appears to be a karaoke-focused Chinese market DVD player with lots of extras, and I almost wish I'd gotten this actually because I can't find hardly anything about it, and it seems interesting, at the very least, highly unique to find in the mountains of North Carolina. I guess I've just been drawn to more unique looking DVD players as of late due to my own, side activities. And here's another one that stood out because of everything is a Panasonic SA-HT80 from the mid-2000s. It's a DVD home theater sound system with a 5-disc DVD changer and a built-in amplifier for 5.1 surround sound, among other things. Again, just kind of different. And over into puzzles and board games, you had a lot of those, and then something that wasn't. In particular, this Landscape Architect program, because it's in a big box, and I like seeing them boxes. As I always say, I'm really fond of these types of programs, and yet I've still not done a video on them. I need to do that. My goodness, I've been finding a bunch of 60s and 70s stuff. Look at this classic 3M overhead projector. Glare-free Model 522 Classic, if such a thing can be called that. And then right below, this absolutely stood out. These Fisher Speakers STV667Bs from 1988 or so, and dang, I love the look of these. Some of the cones and the covers and other things were a little worse for wear, but my goodness, $30 for the pair of these. Again, if I had come across these like a year later, then I probably would have gotten them, mainly for the looks, but I bet they sound all right. Ah man, that is one brown tan dustbuster. I don't know if it's aged or it's supposed to look like that. Wouldn't be surprised either way. But yeah, look at these. Koss K6 headphones. Again with the 70s. These are 1972 cans in the original box with the documentation. I mean, honestly, they don't look to be in that bad a shape either. They just need a good cleaning because they're a little moldy. Yeah, talk about your throwbacks. I remember using a pair that were kind of looking like this that my parents had back in the day. Yeah, I always lament the fact every time I see one of these disc holders in a Goodwill without all the discs. Just wonder what happened to all of them, because chances are they got tossed out into the trash whenever this was donated, because that's just what Goodwill does. And the more of these that I run across, the more depressing it is, I just never find people's old collections of floppy disks at Goodwill, except that we do today. What the heck, man? Look at this. We've got a little pack of discs. 5 1/4 inch, no less. And surprisingly, they weren't all commercial discs. There were a number of things that were written by whatever user had these in the past, including genealogy, family tree stuff, some taxes, and then some thing called Executive Diet Helper and Weight Loss Planner. In hindsight, I don't know what I was thinking not picking this up. I'm slipping. Like, if I didn't buy floppy disks at a thrift store, I mean, who even am I anymore? I don't know what happened. One of these little Franklin thingies is one of the spelling ace computers. It's always a thing where I'm like, oh man, little keyboard, and then I realize what it is and whatever. Yeah, just a bunch of other junk here, like a bulb that can possibly take out or at least severely weaken Superman, and some other little 60s thing. Again, what is this? A Presto Comfort Guide. A neat little mid-century looking thing, humidity and temperature sensor so you can tell how hot things are. Things like this Hometown Hotties poster, Maxim magazine thing. I had to look this up just as a matter of doing thorough research for these videos. And apparently Maxim magazine ran this contest from like 2000 something to 2014, and they suddenly stopped it that year. But yeah, they still have videos of all these contestants from around the country on YouTube. And talk about your unexpected retro throwbacks. 2011 seems longer ago than it actually was. Hey, what's up, dogs? But anyway, yeah, over in this other random section of junk, we got a little junk section. This NPR radio was on the shelf. I'd never heard of that. By Livio, something from 2009 that lets you connect to 800 plus NPR stations from around the country and Pandora and other internet radio stuff, I guess. But yeah, it's one of those things where the server is dead as of about half a decade ago. A classic case of services going away in a fully avoidable fashion. I had to check the puzzles and board games one more time because I've been having good luck lately, and I thought I had more luck again, but no, this $100,000 pyramid thing is not a big box PC game. It is a big box DVD game that you can play in your DVD player. Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking box design, if a bit front heavy. And then lastly, as we were approaching Christmas here, I just happened to notice this set of beads, which I assume were some kind of holiday decoration, but they were filled with shotgun shells in between. No jingle bells though, but North Carolina, man. Anyway, that is it for episode 51 of LGR Thrifts. I really hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed doing one of these again after almost 2 daggum years. I swear I'm going to get another one of these out as soon as I possibly can. But, it's been a weird time for all kinds of reasons, as I mentioned at the beginning. So we'll see what happens. Thrifts is not dead, though. It's just slower. A relatable condition. And your submissions for the things that you have found while thrifting are certainly not dead either. Y'all have continued to send those in this entire time, and I'm grateful for that. I really appreciate that you're still interested in this, or at the very least, you're interested in thrifting yourself and still finding cool stuff out there. Maybe it takes a little bit longer than it used to, and traveling to more places. And of course, trying to find things for a half-decent price that aren't overinflated with online gouging nonsense. But yay, thrifting, it's still fun sometimes. So I'm glad that y'all are still having fun with that. And hopefully this year I'd like to start traveling a little bit more to do even more of these episodes other places. Now that things are getting a little more back to normal. But anyway, that is all for this episode. Thank you very much for watching.